Welcome to day 114 of the 300 movie challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film. Well, actually, let me backtrack. We would have watched the highest grossing film of November 2003, but there was something kind of interesting that happened. Because the highest grossing film of this month was The Matrix Revolutions. That's the third of the Matrix trilogy. You notice that we didn't get to see the second one, so instead of watching the threequel, we watched the sequel, The Matrix Reloaded.
Yay.
Because, okay, tiny bit of background. I saw this once. I saw all three of them kind of in a row back, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And then you two have just seen the first one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I always looked at this as, like, it's not very good, but there's, like, 2 good parts to it. But, honestly, it's like, it was worse than I remembered it being.
So it's like your Spy Kids almost,
Well,
where I was
not
just
really.
like,
I mean, again, I didn't think it was good. It was like, I was like, okay, there's 2 good parts, and the rest of it's whatever. There were still 2 good parts, but the rest of it was, like, even worse than what I remembered. It was, like, pretty bad.
Like, the pacing was awful in
Yeah,
this
the
movie,
pacing
where
was
they
really bad.
extended
Yeah.
certain scenes for like 20 or 30 minutes, and then the actually like important scenes are like 5 minutes long.
yeah, it's weird.
Well, even, like, the very ending, for example, when, like, they're, at the very end, they're talking about, like, you know, oh, we went to, like, attack the machines, and then they, like, expected us, there was an EMP, and, like, everyone died. It's like, wait a minute, why didn't you show that?
Yeah.
Like, that seems like it'd be, like, an important thing to actually show. But,
Yeah, instead of the weird, like, love revival thing that keeps happening in these movies.
yeah, no, that's the thing, because, like, the worst part about the first movie was that Neo and Trinity having a romance sucked. And now it's a lot more
still-
important! So...
Yeah.
And
And
it
it's
still
still-
sucks.
yeah, if anything, it's
The
worse.
rave.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, yeah. So it was like, what? The priest guy, we'll talk about all the Jesus symbolism later. The priest guy, like, gave a speech, and then Morpheus gave a speech, and then right after that they have, like, this rave in, like, what would probably be, like, their church, probably, or something. And then, like, out of nowhere, there's this, like, really random sex scene. But at the same
No,
time...
what makes it really weird too is that the scene before that, you see Neo just like standing there, and then Trinity comes in, and then they kiss, and it's just like, okay, they're doing that awkward kissing thing or whatever. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
and, like, the rave is still happening.
Yeah, and then it goes back to the rave, and you're like, okay. And then it goes back to them, and then they're somehow in this place on a bed, and they're completely undressed and everything, and you're like, how did. What?
It escalated so fast.
Yeah.
And it was so awkward because it would cut back to the rave, but then it would cut back to them, and then we were just like,
And the thing is, like, they're acting like they're, like, fucking, like, horny kids. It's like literally every chance they get, they, like, immediately start making out. It's just weird. It's like, damn. And again, like, there's no actual chemistry involved or whatever. They're just like, oh, we say we love each other.
yeah, I don't get why they like each other. It's
Yeah.
so extraneous. Like,
It's
they have
like
other
they have
things
to
worry about.
prove the fact that they like each other, so they have to keep kissing on screen to be like, oh yeah, guys, remember we're in a relationship, right?
It's like
Yeah.
these kinds of, like, portrayals of romance are the ones that make me hate the couple, and I'm just like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Get off the screen, bring back my boy Morpheus, and stop, like, messing with him, please.
Yeah, okay, no, speaking of Morpheus, because, like, in this movie, and this is not just Morpheus's fault, but a lot of it comes from him. Like, okay, a complaint that I've heard about all of the movies, or even including the first one, is that, like, the symbolism is kind of, like, too forced, and it's, like, a bit too, like, you know, philosophical or whatever. I don't think the first one's that bad. At least the first one, those
No.
elements tie into what's actually going on. This
Yeah.
one, they just go into, like, random philosophical, like, exposition for, like, no fucking reason. It's mostly Morpheus and the French dude. It's like mostly them, and then it's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why are you talking about this? It's just weird, and it comes off as like super pretentious.
It is really pretentious, and I'm just like, stop messing up my favorite character!
Yeah.
And then not only that, but then later on, when Neo is like, oh, the prophecy doesn't exist, it's like, well, the prophecy would have existed if you just, like, went through the right door. But
Yeah.
you decided not to go through the door, but you're not admitting that it was your fault that you didn't go through the right door, or
Yeah.
that you even went through that whole scenario, and you're just saying that, nope, nothing was supposed to happen, guys, that's it.
You know, the whole, like, you know, the putting things on the line, like the person you love the most versus, like, the entire world. It is an interesting concept, but the way it's presented here, it's like, it's not the fault of, like, the KFC guy, the architect, I mean. It's not the architect's fault either, because it was supposed to be up to, like, the directors and the script writers to make the romance, or at least the relationship between Neo and Trinity interesting enough for you to, like, want him to go after her. I think it would have been more interesting if the choice was between, like, everyone in the Matrix and Morpheus. I thought that would be more interesting, because Morpheus was the guy who brought him into this whole thing in the first place.
Well, again, I could see it working with Trinity again if, like, you know, they actually had chemistry and you wanted to see them together, because then that's a legitimate thing. It's kind of, it's that whole, I forgot what it's called, but it's the paradox, or not the paradox, the ethical question where, like, you have a train and it'll either like kill 5 strangers or like one like your friend or something. Like, what do you do, right?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing, and like that's an actually interesting question, but it doesn't work if like you don't believe the friendship, relationship, whatever.
Or if you don't care about one of the choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when he went to go save Trinity, we were all just like, great, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Gonna let everyone die for someone you don't even know.
And the thing is, again, like, that actually could, even so, what it could actually be good that they go for, but again, they fuck this up too, is that, like, you know, he initially doesn't save her, right?
Yeah.
And so if they actually went all the way with that, that would have been interesting, right?
Yeah.
If they actually
see,
were like, no, it was right, that whole thing, all of those visions about her dying, everyone saying it's inevitable she dies, and yeah, actually, she does die. There's nothing that could have been done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that would have actually been a bit more interesting, and that would have been like, you know, you're not totally God here, you know, you have to play by the rules, and the rules said she died, and even though you were like, oh, I'm gonna save her, you were wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be legitimately interesting, but they didn't do that, so...
Nope. He ended up resurrecting
He just, like, shoves
her.
his hand into her stomach, and, like, does something, I don't know, it's...
That's so
weird.
gross, though.
He's
He like restarted her heart or
by, like,
something.
squeezing it with his hand. I don't know.
Eh.
It's just weird.
Oh my god.
It's just weird.
I don't think that's how.
No, I don't think so.
And then they had a makeup. Makeup.
She put eyeliner on it afterward.
Then they had a makeout section. I can't speak words today. Then they immediately started kissing and everything, like 2 seconds after she woke up from that, and it's just like, is that really what you should be doing right now after she got like shot and then just seemingly got resurrected and is all cut up and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Probably really, like, in pain. Oh yeah, and then right after that, we have the huge thing with, like, the Sentinels are coming and they're gonna, like, kill them. They destroyed the Nebuchadnezzar, and everyone's, like, running away. Neo turns around, and he's like, I got the power, and he just, like, fucks up the Sentinels. He just, like, disengages them, and I'm just like, you just threw all of the stakes of the story right out the window. Just gone.
I'm gonna say this. I will not say anything about that scene yet.
Okay.
Okay. If it gets worse, I'll be mad.
I'm not saying anything else, okay?
Okay.
I I really want to say something, but I'm gonna save it until after the third one. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you guys know we're gonna have to watch the
Well,
third one. It's
yeah.
just a matter of when. It'll happen eventually.
Yeah,
Don't
fairly
be
soon.
surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that.
Oh wait, we have to talk about the Jesus symbolism, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's all over the place.
Where to start?
I don't know. It's everyone treats well. Okay, actually, not so much the Jesus symbolism. Well, it's part of that, but just the fact that like this whole thing is like, oh, Morpheus believes in this prophecy or whatever, and like, what if he's right and we should go off of this or whatever? And it's like, isn't this kind of a bad message?
Yeah.
You're just saying like, yeah, just believe this dude who says he knows what's up for like no reason. It's like,
yeah.
It just.
I
seems
mean, like, I
super odd.
like Morpheus, but he's not necessarily the most credible person in, like, the movie at
Nope.
all. So, just blindly following, like, one
Also,
guy.
what is his credentials and his like power to even make that message too?
I don't know. Like, we don't really know much about the Society of Zion at all. Like,
yeah, well, because
we
that's
kind
the
of
thing.
see it.
Like with the first movie, you saw Morpheus as like he's like this really powerful dude, and he has all this power and like all this knowledge and stuff. And then it's like you find out, oh, he's actually just like kind of like some kind of important guy in the military.
Yeah, and
Like,
it seems
okay.
really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they forgot that detail in the first movie, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, actually, he's not as powerful as you guys think he is." Because without seeing Zion, you can believe that he has more power than he would normally kind of maybe have. Actually, in reality, if we take the two sequels into account as canon. But in the first movie, it seemed like, okay, maybe just the crew is one very specialized group of survivors, and he is the most powerful because he, like, led this group of survivors, and they're doing this thing to liberate people. That's fine, because then you're like, okay, so he's kind of the guy taking people out and being like, okay, so this is what's up, I'm gonna drop you off at this settlement, you're gonna, like, adapt, and then we'll be okay.
Well, see, what could have been more interesting is if he actually wasn't super high ranking, but then when they met like the actually like really high ranking people in Zion, they could have translated that into like these super high ranking Zion people are like when they're in the Matrix, they're like unbelievable in terms of what they can do, right? Where it's like the
Right.
first movie, they're like, oh wow, Morpheus can do all this cool stuff in the Matrix. And the second movie, it's like, wait, no shit, Morpheus is like lame. Like all these other people can do like way more cooler stuff. You know what I mean? If they actually
That's
Yeah,
that's
did
usually
something
how
like that.
More interesting.
that is usually how they do it. Like,
Yeah, and I feel
especially in like anime, they
Yeah.
usually do it like that.
But no, you don't even see those other guys in the Matrix like at all. You just see at least that like that head guys, right? You just see like
Yeah.
other military people, and you don't even see like the commander guy in there. He just gets mad at.
He's
people
just
for
like
disobeying
bitching
him.
all the time.
Yeah, so it's just like it just feels weird, and I don't know. I will say there are two kind of scenes that are good. The first is look, they are ridiculous, but they like embrace the ridiculousness, so it's like okay. The main one is the like fight scene with all of like the clone Smiths. Like that's
It kind
just,
of
it's just ridiculous, but it's so entertainingly ridiculous.
it is kind of cartoony, and it kind of reminded me of old Naruto, where Naruto would make all of his copies of himself and just dogpile onto the enemy, and I was like, okay.
So that's a
It
fun
reminded me
scene.
of a Bollywood movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's a fun scene, and then also the when they're on the freeway with the action.
Yeah,
the action with that is pretty good too.
The setting is pretty interesting for that.
Yeah, because but the problem is that there's a ton of other fight scenes that are like really boring. To be
They're
honest.
weird.
Yeah,
also,
like I
like-
mentioned, there was like the first fight scene that you see with like I think it was Neo.
And,
Against
and
some
that
of-
Asian dude.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And it was just like everything felt like off, and it was almost like watching like a retro video game and everything.
Yeah. The choreography was kind of bad.
Yeah.
It like,
Eh.
and yeah, there was that. There was the fight in like the chateau or whatever.
Yeah, there was
Oh,
like
yeah.
one where you said that it looked like a dance more so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was the Asian guy fight. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so there's a bunch of these other fights that are like really dull, and it's like those two stand out because they have an interesting premise and an interesting setting, and I think they're done well. But yeah, it's like a fight scene in The Matrix should not be boring. Like,
No.
how did you do that?
And then, as you mentioned too, when we were watching it, while in the first movie they utilized slow motion to like an exceptional degree, here it's just like,
kind of rare.
It's abused now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
kind of
abused.
it kind of blends in with like the stereotypical action movie you see like today, where it's just like cut, 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 slow mo,
yeah.
slow mo, cut, 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 slow mo.
It's not as bad with the cutting.
Yeah,
uh,
the cutting is still fine.
The cutting's
because it's still-
okay, but the slow mo
early
is
2000s.
definitely it's pushing it a bit more. Yeah, it's I don't know. Like I still like those scenes, but I think the rest of the movie was like worse than I thought it was, so my overall opinion has dropped. I kind of feel like this movie is really similar in how I view it to like the 2 Star Wars prequels we've seen.
Mm.
Where
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of like there's like a bunch of kind of random shit going on that you can't really follow. A lot of the character interactions are kind of lame and like, you know, stuff like that. But there's still,
Romance.
but there's still kind of this like, again, there are a few good scenes, and then there is like, they still have this kind of like atmosphere to it as like a Matrix movie that does kind of shine through a bit. But yeah, if I were to, it's really like I'm trying to think like, what do I like better? Do I like this better, or do I like Attack of the Clones better? And it's like,
I think I like Attack of the
yeah, I
Clones
think so
better.
too. Again, I think in that case the like this just the Star Wars charm kind of shines through a bit more. Because like
Yeah.
Because at least you have C-3PO
Yeah,
like,
you have
wandering
things
around.
like
that
you
that
have
are, like,
Obi-Wan being
yeah,
Obi-Wan, and you know.
they're more enjoyable. Where here it's like, I mean, is there any like good character here? I mean, like the best characters in
Nope.
this movie are basically just kind of blank slates. Well, okay, Smith is enjoyable.
Well, Smith is Smith.
Yeah,
so-
he's
Yeah.
goofy, and like he like I said after the first movie, like he gets goofier, and again the third movie he gets goofier. So I even as like someone who's not like, you know, super serious, I always find him fun, and yeah. But the other characters it's just I don't care anymore, and it sucks.
So like, wait. So just to clarify, the 2 sequels were afterthoughts to the first movie. Right.
I believe that they were not, that the first movie was a standalone movie, I believe.
Okay.
And then they wrote, well, of course they had to make these 2 kind of right after each other, or they made them at the same time basically.
Right, because
then-
it's basically like one movie that they cut it in half, like Breaking Dawn style, you know?
I don't think they were, I think they'd always planned to make 2 sequels, so I don't think they split it after that, but I
I
don't know.
think usually it was customary to do trilogies as
Trilogies. That's,
shown with 2003 in general.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
I'm gonna say that I'll stick with The Matrix as being a standalone and forget the 2 sequels after we watch the third one.
yeah.
Better off.
The third, and the thing is, the third one's worse.
Okay.
It's okay. It's not way worse. It's a bit worse,
Okay.
It
Yeah.
doesn't fix any of the problems that we.
no,
Nothing will improve, basically.
no. Yeah, basically
Okay.
nothing improves. And again, the 2 good like fight scenes here, you that's basically it. You don't really see anything like that.
It's sad because, like, you kind of forewarned us in the beginning that this movie wasn't good, and I had low expectations, but they still didn't meet those expectations.
Yeah, I honestly kind of felt the
Yeah.
same. Like I thought it was gonna be a little bit more enjoyable than it was. So,
I was like, okay, so it'll be like, okay, right?
Nope.
But I mean, okay, considering this year, it's like what compared to everything else this year, like.
I mean, it's better
Shit.
than everything
Yeah.
else, but is it really a compliment at this point?
No, but I mean, I'm trying to think, like, compared to the other movies that we've seen this year, what is this, like, 4th or 5th best or something?
It was really
It's
sad.
like, yeah, it's so sad. Oh my god. It's-
It's like this movie and Scary Movie 3 are like competing for whatever spot that is.
Yeah, I know, right? It's sad.
I don't know. It's. Yeah. Just, well, we
So
have.
as for recommendations, just keep to the first one. We have to watch the third one, but you don't have to.
Just go watch the highway fight scene and the clones fight scene on YouTube, and then that's all you need to do.
Yeah, that's all you do.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
Um,
fine.
And what was I gonna say? Oh, we have one more movie of 2003.
We'll see Agent Smith again.
Well,
Yes.
okay, that's true. But the one more for 2003, it is a good one.
Yes.
So, and
I
again,
think that you guys should already be able to guess what it is.
yeah.
Yep.
I will say again, this is a movie that I'm very curious to see again. So, see how that works. And I made sure that we are seeing the one with
The full one.
the extended cut of this one because for some reason they cut a very important scene out of the theatrical cut. But anyway, whatever. We'll get to that when we get to that. We've been talking long enough about Matrix Reloaded, so whatever.
See you in Middle
Goodbye.
Earth.